in our lives today, many older, younger, and middle-aged people have a tendency to go to the doctors and be not really understood about what they just heard from the doctor. They can come home and try to tell their family what the doctor told them, and they're just really not sure about exactly the kind of language and problems that they told them. They're just putting their faith in what the doctor told them, and they're just going on about their life and hoping that everything that he told them was right, and that the problem that they're and the therapy that they're going to use to fix the problem is going to be the right therapy to use. Somatic gene therapy, and we've heard of germline therapy, stem cell research, stuff like that, is stuff that you've heard a lot about, but you just really don't know what it means. And if there was a time that you had to go to a doctor for some kind of DNA that was corrupt in your body, and they brought this up, you wouldn't know anything about it. You're just kind of like, well, yeah, I mean, I guess, and we've heard of popular people, Peyton Manning, one of them just here recently, went overseas and received gene therapy whenever he hurt his neck. It's not really practiced here in the United States for many reasons now, but it's soon to be coming back, and it's practiced other places that Americans can easily go and get the kind of therapy. So you ask yourself, what is it? I don't really know about it, and I would like to know about it to where if I had to make a judgment call, I would understand it. So there's always pros and cons to each situation. Yeah, you see a lot of people do it, and you're like, man, that sounds pretty good, and you hear a lot of negative stuff. Well, somatic gene therapy is something that was started in the 90s. Since then, yeah, it's not something that's been around for a long time, so that right there kind of tells you that it's not really probably the most known and recognized kind of therapy. Well, what it is doctors come up with a way to find corrupt, mutated, problematic genes in your body for any type of like cancer or hemophilia, and just simple stuff like that you hear and you have, and you really don't have anything to change it. What they've done is there's a way that they can go into that problematic area and change the DNA coding, and you're cured. But there's good and bad that come from it. One of the things that most people are scared of, one of the cons you could say to somatic gene therapy, is the vector that they use. A vector is a vehicle, and what it is it's a cell device that they use to go to the problematic zone that's going to offer new DNA for your body to accept. But the biggest thing about this vehicle, this vector that they use, it's adeno and retroviruses, which we know retroviruses as HIV, and that's what they use to introduce in these people's tissues, so it can go to these sites and for your tissues for your body, because your body, when it sees a virus, it's going to attack it, your immune system, and so it's going to attack this virus, and your tissues are going to overtake it. But what it's doing is it's overtaking good DNA that this virus is holding, and then your body's going to be cured. But at the same time, that can be a pro that good, you're cured, you got new DNA that's going to help you. But at the same time, in 2003, we noticed that 2 girls had severe immunodeficiency diseases, and they were cured for at least 3 years, and then all of a sudden they come down with a very, very rare case of a blood disease. And it's because they linked it back to one of the retroviruses that they used was not purely cleaned from the HIV that virus withheld, and it complicated their immune systems, and they were susceptible to very rare viruses. So what we do is we always try to approach these situations and look at the things that are good to come out of them and the things that are bad. And these are the things that if you went to a doctor and you talk about them, you might not get. You'd have to come home and look on your internet and see, man, is it worth doing this? Is it not worth it? So a lot of the pros you can just imagine. You get cured, more cures for the future, pain relief, but the cons, you know, like we just heard, you know, you can die from it. It can hurt your offspring. It can hurt you later. The cost, I mean, you might help yourself, but you might be paying it off for 30 years because it's so expensive. So, in the end, what it finally comes down to is yourself. Do you think it's worth it? Yeah, you're going to hear good things and you're going to hear bad things, but the best educational advice that people can give you when it comes down to something being okay and not okay is where does it fit in with your life, your beliefs, your religion, your faith. And in my belief, I think that, you know, when you try to play God and you know, you don't really just put things in His hands, you go to other people and try to let them do the work for you and take all these huge risks, I feel like that you're kind of stepping out of your boundaries of what your true faith is. Your faith is in God, and that's where you need to put all your faith and your desires and what's going to come out of His works. But other people, they might stop and say, well, I think it's the best thing to do is to, you know, try to be there for my family, and if it means, you know, going all out and trying to, you know, get the best doctors that people can find and taking this risk of therapy, then that's what it is. So I think at the end of the day that, you know, when you weigh out these pros and you weigh out the cons and you finally understand what these kind of therapies are, at the end of the day you need to just, you know, basically do what you know is best to do within your own